Now you should be on worksheets 3 and 4. You have 2 paragraph organizations, both of them which need to be highlighted like so. You only need to just highlight the 1 and the 2. You do not have to highlight all the way across. So just the 1 and the 2. And then on See, Hear, Taste, Smell, and Touch, you only need to highlight these blocks right here. You do not need to highlight down here in this space. Do not bother doing that right now at all. Just highlight See blue, Hear yellow, Taste and Smell green, and then Touch as orange. And then you're going to go back up here, do that for both paragraph organizations, and then continue on with what you are filling in. We are going to do a concrete description of the beach this week. Stating your point of view, we need enough from number 2 to put an opinion in your introduction as well as your conclusion. So we're going to put a fair bit here. We're just going to say that it is relaxing, refreshing, and revitalizing, meaning that it gives you more life. Now, whenever we go down into kind of the core of your brainstorm, we have items that we're listing off to the side here. And we're just going to talk about different things that have to do with the beach. So we're going to start off with seagulls. And then we're going to talk about what we see whenever we're watching seagulls. You might have some other ideas. You're welcome to put them down as long as they are not gross. So we're going to talk about how possibility like watching them. They're very graceful. They have wings, feathers, and they're very fast. Now let's talk about what we hear with them. Maybe that they're loud. Helps if I can spell. Piercing. They squawk. And you can hear them calling to each other. Now as far as taste and smell goes, this is what we could put down just what they like to eat. So maybe this is fish, bread, crackers. You want to put Doritos or Cheetos down, that's fine. Crabs. Now as far as like how you possibly touch them or how they touch you, they're very bold whenever they're eating, especially if someone's giving them food. And so you might come in contact with if you're feeding them. Alright, now we're going to talk about the waves and ocean. Things that you see when you're looking out there. You might see crests of white. It's very foamy. It's very colorful. You also have shades of teal, aqua, violet, emerald. They're distant boats. All sorts of things out there that you could talk about. Things that you hear if you're listening to the waves, you're hearing them crashing into the shore, or you could say thundering. Things that you might taste in relation to that, the salt. You could talk here about how it's refreshing. You might also say you can taste or smell the seaweed or the fish. How it feels, it could be cold. You could talk about it being warm, depending on what beach where you are or what ocean. You could also talk about it's wet. So, and you do not have to fit all of these on the same line. If you want to split them up and go down, that's fine too. Okay, next one that we're going over is the beach itself. This has to do with kind of the sandy area. So what do you see? It's tan. You see many grains of sand. You might see the shells or the sand dollars. I think that's how you say it. Sand castles. That's how it should look. Sounds you might hear might be plop or crunching. Kind of as you're walking along the seashore. You might taste it in food. You could talk about the particular types of food that you might eat out on the beach. And the way that you feel it's with your toes. Let's say it's squishy. gritty. Depending on the sand, it could be very hot. It could also be smooth overall. Okay, and we will finish up on this last one, number 4, but I just kind of want to go over this real quick. You're going to be organizing this according to the sense. And so you will have to talk about all 4 senses, but on your A, 1, and 2, it will be blue. And so you're going to talk about the sense of C. So after your first pink sentence, you're just going to be talking about the sensation of sight. So you're going to choose from the items as far as if you're covering sight. Maybe you don't really want to talk about seagulls, but you want to talk about maybe one or more of the things having to do with waves in the ocean. So that means under the sense of sight, you would come down to waves and ocean, and you might just highlight white, foamy, and then aqua and violet. And that would be what you would highlight blue. Or you could highlight the whole block as being blue. Well, let's say you also want to talk about sights as far as the beach. So maybe you talk about it being tan and many grains of sand and the sandcastles that are dotting the shore. And so in that whole column, you might just highlight colorful teal, distant boats, being tan, grains of sand, and the sandcastles. And so that's what you would talk about in your A, 1, and 2 on your outline, and then the blue section of your actual paragraph. So you're not going to highlight the whole column. You're just going to pick and choose from the things that we brainstormed as to what you're going to talk about in the blue portion of your paragraph. So in the yellow, you might decide that you do want to talk about the seagulls and how they're calling to each other. And maybe you want to talk about the waves crashing into the shore. So those would be the things that you would select out of the hearing category. So you would just want maybe a few or a couple. If you want to do the whole entire block, that's fine. But you don't want to highlight yellow all the way down in every single item. We just want to pick and choose from these. But the one thing you have to keep in mind is you can't just focus on like only 3 of the senses. You do have to have all 4 senses gone through, because that is how you're organizing your paragraph. And then you also have to make sure that every single item is somehow mentioned. So maybe you only talk about the seagulls and them calling to each other in the sense of hear, but that would be fine. You have at least mentioned the seagulls. You have not ignored the whole first row. So you have to somehow mention the seagulls, whether you talk about their sight, hearing, taste and smell, or touching them. You have to somehow discuss the seagulls somewhere in your paragraph, depending on the sense that you choose. You have to talk about the waves and ocean somewhere in the paragraph. So whether you're focusing on sight with it, or hearing, or smell, or touch, you do not have to mention every single one of these, but you do have to somehow get waves and ocean in there with one of these senses. So like I said, for the sense of see, you would just look down through there, and then you would highlight either a whole block or maybe just a couple of things blue within the sense of see. Hopefully that makes sense. Now we're going to move on to, we're going to talk about people and children, which children are people. But I mean, in particular, you kind of have adults and you have kids, and sometimes they're doing different things on the beach. Okay, and we'll touch on that in just a minute.